Now, I'm a pretty silly guy. I mean, just the other day, I threw some car batteries into the ocean just out of pure boredom. That's pretty silly. And I'm silly. You're probably silly too. We're all silly. Are there any other Squidwards I should know about? Listen, that's why you should like and subscribe, so we can be silly together. But you know what else is silly? The ocean itself. Ah, the ocean. Filled with so many beautiful sights. So much wildlife. So many beautiful creatures. And great scenery to be seen. It's just filled with... Oh, all the positive things you were thinking before, they're wrong. The ocean is a deep, disgusting, soulless, black void. Just this dark. And I'm talking like real dark. Like darker than your stereotypical... Anyways, we're gonna be taking a look at an ocean mystery iceberg I found on Reddit. The credit will be in the description. Now, as I'm sure you guys know, icebergs work in the way of each tier it gets more and more obscure. Now, I'm probably not going to be choosing everything from this layer and talking about it, mostly just the stuff I find interesting. So around maybe 2 or 3 things from each layer I'll be talking about, and I also just don't want to edit a 40-minute fucking video. So without any further ado, let's hit this iceberg harder than the Titanic. So starting off at the first layer, this first layer is... it doesn't have a name, so I'm just gonna call it Kraken Attacking. So the first thing we're gonna be looking at is called the Lake of Despair. Now, pretty much, this is just a lake that is just very salty. Like, it's so salty that it's pretty much poisonous. Bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, and it's just kind of this layer of really condensed salt water. It's just so dense it doesn't really mix with the water around it, so it just creates this flat bed of just salt. Now, similar to anyone testifying against Kevin Spacey, anything that swims or walks into the salt pit, it'll just fucking die. This is caused by, you know, the fact that the Gulf of Mexico was a lot shallower a long time ago, but that water sort of evaporated, leaving that salt behind, and that salt just got covered by a lot of sediment, and then when it came filled with water again, and that sediment kind of started to crack and let the salt come up, and it created this dense little brine of just fucking death and destruction. Now, next one up is the giant oarfish. Now, honestly, there really isn't much to this. It's kind of just a reference to these pictures. It's just a big fish. It's big. Now, the oarfish is actually ranked as the longest bony fish that we've discovered so far, which is cool. I guess you could call it a boner. Now, so next up is the 400-year-old shark. Now, this shark is part of a species called the Greenland shark, and using carbon dating technology and other like growth patterns that they had discovered, they were able to give a rough estimate of the ages for these sharks, and one of the oldest sharks, which was a female, was found to be around 272 years old to 512 years old. Now, they kind of narrowed it down to around 392 years old, so around like 400 years tops, most likely for this, which is pretty cool. And that's kind of all it is. It's just like really freaking old, and is also one of the top contenders for the oldest vertebrate ever. So in this next layer here, it doesn't really have a name, just like the other one, so I think I'm going to call it Bob. Now, in the Bob tier, we see the Bermuda Triangle, which is kind of weird because everyone knows about it. I don't know why it's in the second tier. It should be like number 1 at the top. It's just a triangle. I'm not covering it. I'm just saying, like, it's just a triangle. It's weird as on here. We also see the Loch Ness Monster. I don't know why that's there either. It seems like a pretty well-known legend, no? Like, whatever. I didn't make the iceberg. So we're only going to be covering 2 on this layer. The one I wanted to cover first is the blue whale mating ritual, which I thought was actually going to be kind of disgusting, and it's actually kind of not. Basically, what they do is they just kind of play around with each other, chase each other, and just spin around, and then, you know, the sex happens afterwards. So, you know, everything before that is pretty nice. So here's some video footage here of a male pursuing a female. Which is this really nice, beautiful thing, but suddenly, when I do it on the street, it's a problem. Like, it's double standards, man, I swear. Anyways, next up is the Kaz 2, which is actually something I found very interesting. So basically what this was about was a small vessel bound for Western Australia, and it was sailed by 3 people. Those 3 people being Des Batten and his brothers, Peter and John. Which Peter and John are the most stereotypical names I've ever heard in my life. But anyways, so while sailing, they had completely disappeared without a trace. There was even traces of them being alive, but their bodies were never found. Pretty much, they found a half-empty coffee cup, or half full, depending how you look on the situation. Kill me an open newspaper, and an open laptop as well. Now, there's a lot of conspiracies surrounding this case, ranging from like fucking aliens to just, you know, pirates. Now, 3 days after they set sail, the ship was actually found adrift. The coroner came up with the report that, get this is gonna sound like something out of the Three Stooges, but get this. Part of the sail had gotten stuck in the propeller, so one of them tried to, you know, pull it out to get the propeller free and fell into the water. And then someone from the ship tried to save them, and also fell in the water, as people do. And then, following this, the last remaining crew member on the ship got hit in the head and fell in the water.
As people do.
So, I'm trying not to laugh explaining this to you, but there it is. Moving on to the next tier. Again, there's no names. I don't know why there's no names here. Now, he just kind of looks like a Jeffrey, so I'm gonna go and just call it the Jeffrey tier. So in the Jeffrey tier, I want to start off with Point Nemo, which is something I find very interesting as someone that dislikes people. Now, Point Nemo is supposedly the furthest place from a habitable area, like where people live. It's the furthest place from that. In fact, people in the ISS, which is the International Space Station, is actually closer to Point Nemo than people on Earth in a habitable area, which is just funny to me. So if you hate people, I guess this is just the place to go. Now, Point Nemo is around 2,688 kilometers away from people, and about 400 kilometers away from the International Space Station. And it's also kind of just a graveyard for, like, space tech that they just kind of throw onto Earth. Like, I don't know if the satellite isn't in use anymore, and they're just kind of like, alright, let's get it out of here, and then they just fucking into Point Nemo. Gone. The next up is the immortal jellyfish. I also found this one very cool. So this jellyfish is a tiny little, like, it's just this tiny little thing, right? Kind of like your dick. And it evolves into a jellyfish. And then whenever it, like, gets injured or starts starving, it literally just decides, nah, I don't really feel like it. And it just fucking devolves. And then evolves again. Creating a bunch of other ones, and it's just really funny. Like, it creates a bunch of identical clones, and when it evolves again, and it's just kind of funny to me. Like, it just decides, like, yeah, no, I'm not really about this, guys. I'm not really feeling it today. Let's just devolve. And frankly, I'm kind of jealous. I wish I could do that some days, as long as I could evolve again when I feel like it. Now, that's kind of it for this video. I didn't want to make like a 40-minute long fucking Iceberg video and have like nobody watch it. Last video did terribly, so I'm just kind of throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks and what doesn't. So anyways, here's some videos that you'd like. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment telling what you think. I really appreciate you guys watching. And remember, everyone, stay hard.